Okay, so I think we are talking about the establishing of the uh, logic of the app. So in the last class, we have discussed up to the point where we build the uh, function calculate tip, and the calculate tip function is built in this manner. So we have given certain steps to follow. The um, app is getting a value from the customer, and that value will be converted into a double or a numerical value and will be stored as the cost variable. And then the cost is found using this method, and then we can obtain the value of the cost by uh, converting the string value that the customer inputs into the text view into a double value. This is the command that is used. So apart from that, we also need the value of the tip percentage. To obtain the value of the tip percentage, we need to obtain the value that the tip percentage that the customer has chosen, and the customer chooses that using the radio buttons. So the radio button, specific radio button, has a certain ID, and that ID needs to be uh, found. So after we uh, know that, we need to find the specific ID that was selected. So that is possible in Android in a very easy method. So since we can access using the binding option, we can access the tip options, right? So using the binding, we can obtain the tip options. I hope you can remember that we can obtain options or the views that are defined in the interface using the binding function. Binding uh, is a um, actually we are defining it as a certain variable, and the binding uh, contains different view objects that you have defined in the entire user interface. So binding contains all the different views that you have defined in the interface. So using binding, you can obtain the tip options, and then you can obtain the selected radio button by using the checked radio button ID function. So after you have given this command, you can find the selected radio button ID. So that is easily obtained. You can equal that to select ID variable. That variable we can define as select ID. So if you know the select ID, then you can define the tip percentages based on the selected ID. So the selected ID is also varying. It can be the ID can be the option, different options that we have given to the interface uh, before. So we have given three options. So we are giving three options. Basically, we are giving 20%, 18%, and 15%. So those options can be accessed using their ID values. So the ID value can be obtained like this: r.id option 20%, then r.id option 18%. Likewise, we can obtain the IDs of each of the elements, and we can check whether the selected ID is equal to those IDs. If the select ID is equal to certain ID, then we can select the tip percentage as that value 0.2, 0.18, or 0.15. Once you know those tip percentage values, it's the next step is to multiply the cost into the tip percentage. So the value of cost we have already computed in the previous steps using this function, using this line. So we know the cost value, and then we can find the select the tip percentage value using the using this loop, and this loop will return the tip percentage value. So the tip percentage value you can find using that these lines. Finally, you can find the tip percentage. The next step is to calculate the tip value. The final tip value you can calculate by taking the product between tip percentage and the cost. Then you can find the value of tip. So up to, I think in the last class we discussed up to the step number 6. After that, I think we wound up the session. So what I hope to do is actually not really, continue this app development for a long time. I think we have been doing that multiple times. So because of that, I would like to actually ask you to do the rest of the logic building on your own by following the steps that are given in this document. So I believe that you are able to follow the steps. If possible, if you have any questions, you can let me know. I will assist you in that regard. So as of now, I think you will be able to see what I'm sharing, hopefully. Uh, the app look like this at the moment. So I think the Kotlin file is what we are building. In the last class, I think I built up to this point. In this, after this point, we can build the next logics, next logic in this function. Inside this curly brackets, you need to define the tip value. So you need to define the tip value, and then you have to, yeah, you need to define the tip value inside the function itself. And then in here, what we are doing is the rounding up of the tip value. The rounding up we can do using this. Uh, you can do by uh, I mean, first you need to actually check whether you need to round up or not, and that is done using this line of code. So basically, you are checking whether the round up is selected. Uh, selected. So for checking, you can use this code. So in this code, we are accessing the binding roundup switch, and we are checking whether it's checked or not. If it is checked, it will be true. So if this roundup is value will be either true or false. So the value roundup means a certain variable that we are defining, and that variable is either true or false. So if you know that it is true or false, you can follow this function. If the roundup value is true, then this loop will be run, which means that if the roundup is selected, then this will be evaluated. This line will be executed. So in here, what has happened is that we have used the function seal, which is a mathematical function which is available in the Kotlin math library, to round up the value of tip. So the rounded up value of tip will be returned as the tip value. So that will be the returning value of this function. So basically once you run this function, you will be calculating the value of tip. So after that, you also need to uh, define the you also need to define the uh, the the currency format of the value of the tip. So you can define the currency. That means that currency format means it could be dollar, US dollar, or euro, or Sri Lankan rupees, something like that. So in order for us to get the specific number format, we can actually define this specific currency format in this code. So you can define the currency format also, a format that you prefer. So that we can do in here. So if you uh, first we will go with the default one. So in default one is the US dollar. Normally we we can take the default value, right? So we can take the default value, uh, and if the library is missing, you need to import the library. So the red text comes if you haven't imported the library. So you have to import the library by clicking on the red text and importing the necessary library. The suggestions are given by the Android Studio itself. So you just need to follow the suggestions. So basically you will be able to get the currency format, uh, and get the uh, formatting applied on the tip by using these code lines. So you can define the number format and then you can apply it on the tip. So that is done using this command. So you already have the number format, and you just you apply it on the tip value, and that formatting is applied on the tip value. So that means that the tip value finally will be shown in USD, or you use USD dollar sign will be added into the tip value. So that will be done. So we will see whether it happens, right? We will see whether it happens. So we can run this and see whether it happens. Apart from that, another thing is that you can add the Sri Lankan currency into this currency format. So in order to do that, we can define a new variable that defines the Sri Lankan currency format, and that can be done using the using this function in here. You can define local. So anyway, we will see whether this is working or not first. So currently, so you can define a new currency uh, using this function called local. That also is another class, that library that contains different currency types. You can import that library, and then you can import these two, you can give these two inputs that defines the current currency to be Sri Lankan currency, and that will relate to the LKR value. So once you have that defined, then you can define that this currency instance that we need to consider should be based on this local variable that we have defined earlier. So based on that, we can actually update the currency value to Sri Lankan currency. So let's see whether it works. So after that, you can I think obtain the you can do the rest of the steps I think I have mentioned. So the last step is there, so I will do that also. So up to this point, I have done the Kotlin code. So after that, we would like to do some uh, additions into the file called strings.xml file. So that is found in the in this left directory and under the res folder and under the strings.xml folder. In there, we can define how our tip value should be shown in the app, right? The tip amount can be shown in a certain format. Currently, it is shown in this format. Rather than that, we can show it uh, in an updated manner. So if we want to update that format in which it is shown, we will update the way it is shown using this manner. So in here we are showing the tip value as tip amount and then double colon, and inside this we will be giving some input. This specifier gives the is used to define that there's a variable that we define. So a certain variable, which is the tip value that we are finding, will be added to this point. So after that, after we add this in here, we actually define the way the tip amount is shown in the app, the formatting of the of what we show, right? So I hope I will be able to get this run. So I will try to give some value. So you can try on your own whether this code works, and you can let me know if it doesn't work and if there's some error. After you have set this, set this formatting under the resource file or the strings.xml file, we are actually defining how the string that we place in here should be shown. So once we are actually calculating the value of the tip value, we are showing the tip value, tip amount, using this format. So we need to use this format once we actually find the value of the tip. So under the calculate tip function, we define this format. We don't use this format every time. So inside the calculate tip function, we define this format. So inside there, we can actually define that the tip, this format of the tip result, right? The tip result view and the text that we define in there should be based on the format that we have defined. So based on the format that we define and the format that we have defined in the strings.xml. So these will be all connected, and they will so this r.string.tip amount relates to the tip amount string that we have defined in here. So I hope you can understand that in this line, what we are defining is that we are defining the format in which we are showing the tip amount value. And that format is given in here. The format is tip amount double colon and the value of the tip. Apart from that, the formatted tip value, whatever the value that we give as the tip value, will be calculated in the previous step, and it will be a certain number. So that number will be shown it will be given as a string value. That string value will be actually given as the variable in here, right? The string value that we give in here will be the formatted tip string. So that is how we actually get the string that we are going to display under the tip result text, right? Tip result, the text value of the tip result will be shown uh, by using this value that we get using this line. So this line will get us a string value. That string value will be actually shown under the tip result text view. So tip result is a text view. So by doing those things, you will be able to show the tip value in a certain format. So hopefully, once you do this, you will be able to see the formatted tip value under the tip amount once you run this code. So up to that point, I think I have that I have given you the instructions in the LMS uh, for you to follow. So do you have any questions up to that point? Can you let me know if you cannot run the code? So if you are unable to run the code, or if your code is not running. In the meantime, can you please mark your attendance in this using this? Okay, I think you have, I mean, I hope you have marked your attendance. So today we will focus on a new topic. So in the LMS, I have uploaded a file under week number 10. So under week number 10, you can obtain a Word file that I have uploaded here. So this is the file and the steps that I will be following in this session. So in here we will be focusing on a new way of uh, developing the app, which is we call that the recycler view. The recycler view is something that we are going to be discussing about today, and we will be learning how to implement the recycler view in the Android Studio. So what we mean by recycler view, so that is something that uh, we have to discuss, right? So recycler view is used to basically uh, generate uh, uh, apps that have scrollable views. So whenever, like, let's say this web application, I can scroll up and down, right? I can scroll up and down. So whatever I see in this interface will be um, something that changes dynamically once I go down in the document or in the platform. So, for example, when you are using Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, whatever, I mean, social media, most of the social media, e-commerce websites, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, those e-commerce websites, you have these kind of scrollable views. So, we need to know how to create a scrollable view in the apps so that we can develop such kind of applications, right? So the scrollable recycler view, when we are defining, when we are building them, we uh, we need to follow a certain standard procedure. So we will actually follow that standard procedure, and we will try to obtain certain behavior from the app. So like I will try to show sample app that has this recycler view. So uh, right, so when we are building the recycler view, we have to follow some steps, and we need to define some algorithms in different files. So anyways, before starting all that, we need to I think know how the recycler views work in the Android Studio and in the other operating systems. So without knowing, we won't be able to understand how those files work, right? So uh, so so we will discuss a little bit about the recycler view before going to implement that, I think, which I think would be essential for us to understand a little bit about the recycler view before going forward, because if you don't understand, and if we just follow what I have given in this document, it doesn't, I don't think that it will be, something that will be uh, remembered for a long time. So as of now, I'm facing some problems with my emulator. So okay, so recycle recycler views. We need to understand how the recycler views work basically, and The recycler views are based on scrolling the screen. So when we are scrolling the screen, when we are scrolling the screen, there are some specific methods that are used to optimize the uh, optimize the the data and optimize the view that is shown. In in s- in the in the scrollable views, the the views that we can see in a phone will be uh, will be limited. The number of items that we can see in a screen will be limited. So if we take that this as a screen, let's assume this is the screen. If we so if we are looking at some kind of uh, data, the data will be stored in kind of text views or some kind of views. Some data will be there inside these views, and these kind of views, these singular views, are actually called as items. So we store some data inside that view, and we call that view with the data as items. So there is a list of items that are shown inside the screen. So suppose we have the list of items. If there are like thousands of data items, then inside one screen, we cannot fit in all the data items at once. So once, like if you are using the phone, you will be scrolling the screen upwards to see the data that is at the bottom. So the data that that should be at the bottom are actually not stored in the bottom, right? Somewhere in the bottom, it's not all stored, but the data is actually added to the necessary or the added to the views that are generated, that are uh, available using a certain function. So so once we are scrolling the screen, the views are getting pushed forward, and the view that we pushed out, or it which was outdated, let's say, is known as a scrap view. So this view which was scrapped, or that was thrown away, is known as scrap view. This scrap view will be stored, actually that also will be stored at the back, and the that scrap view will be used to bind new data into and use that view to update the screen. So this scrap view is then used to uh, define the uh, new view in the screen. So this scrap view will be used to obtain the new uh, new view that we obtain in here, that we generate in here, that will be used to show in the screen in the next time instance. So if we have this scrap view, we are going to put the new data into it, and that new data will be bound using binding process. So binding process will be used to bound the data to the view. So the scrap view will be bound to new data, and that new data will be available in this scrap view. Earlier it had some other data. It had some other data in here. So that data will be deleted, and the new data will be added to this this scrap view. The new data will be added, and that adding the new data we call as binding process, or bind, the binding process. So binding process, after that binding process, we'll be able to have new data in the scrap view. So whatever the views that we are actually throwing off on the front will be used at the back again, and that will be reused to display new data. So this process is used to basically reuse and recycle the views. Reuse and recycle the views. So rather than storing the views, hundreds and thousands of views separately for each data, right? For each data, it's optimal to reuse the views that are already defined, and only replace that view with the data, with the necessary or related data. So most of the time, so we will see an example. We will be able to see that the view that we define will be uh, the view that we define will be uh, similar in all the different text views that we define here, for example, right? So each of these singular singular uh, views we call as items. We call these singular views as items, right? So each of these singular, these small rectangular ones we call as items. So these items will be, defined in a certain similar format in the basic kind of scrollable lists, and in there actually we can uh, easily update the data in the item uh, without changing the layout of the view each and every time. So let's see whether we can obtain an example of that scrolling view in this emulator. Until that point, what we have discussed is that, yeah, so hopefully I can show you. This is a scrollable view. Scrollable view is a view that we can scroll until we obtain the data we want. In this scrollable view, right, what happens is that once I scroll in, for example, in this direction, in the upward direction, the new view that I can see is a view that has been replaced with new data, right? This view is a old view which was earlier shown somewhere at the top and which was replaced by new data. So we can see such kind of replacement until the end of the item. So there's a specific amount of views that can be shown in a certain view, or in a certain screen, right? In a certain screen of the phone, there's a maximum amount of elements that you can see at one point, right? Because the dimensions are limited. So in that case, we can only fit in some certain specific items in a screen. So depending on this number of items, the uh, the uh, the data must be recycled. The views must be recycled. So this recycler view, the technique is used to recycle and reuse the views, and you know like save the data cost and the resource cost in the application. So this kind of recycle views are actually used to optimize the system performance when we have large amounts of data. So how can we implement these kind of applications? So that is what we are going to discuss in today's lesson or in this session, right? So we discussed a little bit about the recycle views. And these recycle views are used to reuse and recycle the views, and it is used to uh, generate a scrolling performance, and it is used to show a list of items by scrolling upward or downward. Also, these kind of applications are possible when we have like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, where we scroll up and down and we see some items placed one after the other. So the items in Instagram, for example, will be some post that has been uploaded by some person. So likewise, these items will be posts. So different posts will be added by different people. So those will be visible to us when we scroll down the screen. So the different views that we can see are the different posts that had been uploaded by the users. So that is one example of the scrollable view in the real world uh, applications. Right. So up to that point, do you have any questions? Right. So we have to implement this kind of application. So in order to do that, we have to understand how these views can be generated. Right. So this entire view we call as the recycler view. Right. And the inside individual items are known as the list items. The small items that we show in here are known as list items or items in general. And each of these items contains some data, and that data must be defined by us. So we will see how we can implement this application, and then we will see how we can also upload it to GitHub, for example, at the end of the lesson. I also hope to give a small quiz at the end of today's lesson regarding the recycler views. So let's start. So in the Android Studio, we have to first, like I think, so I have already, developed some application, but I will start from the beginning. So, uh, so when we are starting from the beginning, you can start with the empty views activity. So you can rename it as you want. Recycler view. So you can uh, save that project. So the first thing you need is um, that you need to do is make sure that you have the library related to the recycler view in the Android Studio app. If you don't have the library, you need to actually import it and install it in the necessary place. So I think in the document that I have provided you, I have not specified the specific library that you need to place in there. So I will give you that command that should be included there in here. I will give that command in the chat. So so you need to use the Gradle files under Gradle scripts. So I think I need to wait a little while in here. In the meantime, I will show you where you need to place the library related to the recycler views. So I hope you can see the screen. So right, so check whether you have these libraries defined under the Gradle view section that I have here, right? So the Gradle, Gradle file will have certain dependencies. So these dependencies will be the sort of the resource files or libraries that allow us to implement certain features in the application. So when we are doing that, we also need to import the recycler view related dependency. So if we don't have it, we need to put it in here. So if you don't have recycler view related dependency there, you can go to Google and you can copy paste the related dependency. So you can search for RecyclerView in Android, RecyclerView Android X. So there's a certain dependency that is related to RecyclerView. So you need to find the specific dependency using the website. So if you go to this web page, you can find the place. So in here, there's declaring dependencies. You can copy this and you can paste this in the in your Gradle files. So yeah, is it in here? You can copy only the actual dependency command you need to copy, but I'll remove the unwanted sections. So it's better to have these kind of dependencies defined in the system so that you can easily obtain the related features of the recycler view. So I think I have completed that part. So if you face some trouble with that, let me know. You need to copy paste these two libraries inside the dependencies section in the in the Gradle file, right, under the dependencies section. So you need to copy paste these two lines. So that part you need to do. So first of all, it's better to do that before starting so that you have everything set up in your file for the recycler view generation. So I will check, right? So this is the new project that I have started. So in there also, I need to check whether the library is there. If it is not there, I need to install it. So we go here. So since it's not available, I will put it in here. And once you put a new library, you need to sync it such that all the files in your Android project will be affected by that, and the dependency will be added to, will be accessed by the files in the project. So you have the main activity file and you have the activity.xml file. So we will start with the recycler view generation. So starting step will be the generation of the layout file. So I will be using this basically this window for the development. So you can follow the Word file that I have given in the LMS to uh, also get some understanding about the steps I'm following in here. So this is the Word file that I have in the LMS. So you have to, just you can follow this, and you can, I will be following basically these steps. So you can follow that as well. So currently I'm in this design file. So go to the activity XML file first, and you need to design the item. So in here I can delete the already available text view. So first of all, I will have an empty view in here. So first of all, I will drag RecyclerView into the XML, this interface. I will drag RecyclerView into here. So that's all. And then basically you define a certain specific ID for this. So in here, I think I showed you, I'm going to develop this app. So in this application, we have a set of persons and their ages. So we are going to create a list of persons and their ages. And in further, further instances, we will be implementing the option of clicking each of these items and obtaining further information about each of the views. So a recycler view, we have dragged and dropped onto here, and there are some problems that are shown in here. So problems related to the constraints. So because of that, I'm going to define the margins of the layout. Margins of the layout I can define. So I can define some kind of spacing for the view. You can define the spacing as you prefer. So by here, I just use the default values that are given to me. So you need to make sure that you define the ID of the recycle view under the ID section. Apart from that, there's in here in the layout width section, you can define the layout width to be equal to match parent. So match parent, it's mainly because you want to get the recycler view matching the parent dimensions or the screen dimensions, for example. So the recycler view is the global view. That means that's the top view. So the top view will be equal in the screen dimensions. So the screen dimensions will equal the parent dimensions. So the layout width and layout height will be selected as match parent. So that match parent option will allow the recycler view to get the dimensions of the parent view. Whatever the view that is on top of the recycler view will be called as the parent view. The parent view's dimensions will be considered to define the dimensions of the recycler view here. So that is basically regarding the recycler view. So we have defined the recycler views design by this instance. So we have given its ID as RV contacts. After doing that, we will be creating a layout for the we will be then designing the the design of the each of the items in the application that we are going to show. So currently what we have designed is this background view, which is the recycler view. And now what we are going to design is this each of the views that are shown in here. Each of the views means items. So we are calling these small views as items. So the items and recycler view, those are the two things we are going to work with. So items also have to be defined, and their design needs to be uh, decided. So their design will be defined in a separate file. We won't be using the recycler view itself. We'll be creating a new file for that. So in order to define this layout file for the items, we will be going into the resource file in here in the directory, go into the layout, and in there we can go to new and layout resource file. So in here we can give a value for the uh, I mean layout file name, and then we can name the layout file as item layout. So so I think I have to run some Gradle projects. So until it is done, I cannot proceed. So up to that point, if you have any questions, you can ask. And today we'll be, discussing about the recycler views basically, and the recycler views content will be discussed, and uh, basically we'll be finishing talking about the like initial section of the recycler view. After that, we'll be discussing some further things, and that will be uh, that will be defined in the next session. So I think there are some errors that are coming with this. So as of moment, I think I will just comment this out. If it is needed only, I will import these libraries. So I will try to run without these two library files. So once it is running, it will be shown in the bottom. So since it is running, I will not be able to do any changes to the current work. So in the meantime, I will also like to announce that I have given an assignment in the LMS for you to complete. So this assignment is basically based on the tip calculator application that we have already done during the class. So we have spent about 3 to 4 days on that. So this assignment is regarding that. So I have given this assignment, which needs to be completed by the 10th of January, and in 2 weeks. So the instruction sheet is given in the LMS under week number 10. So the application must be uh, right. So the application has to uh, developed, and the kind of the main features that it should have are given in here. The user interface design, the functionality, the tip percentage options, the design considerations, the outlook of the application, those things you can define. And then also you can test it for any kind of crashes or any kind of problems when the app is running. So if there are some crashes or some problems with the app, you need to check what is the reason, and maybe provide some guide about how to resolve them. So in your reports or in your documentation that you create about this, you can mention how you what are the problems that are available, or what are the problems that still exist, and what are the solutions that we can take to overcome them. So anyway, like the you need to do some testing on the application to find out whether it's functioning very smoothly under any kind of scenario. And if we give some invalid inputs into the application, the application should either not respond at that moment or give some message that the input data is an error. It's like not valid input. So those things must be, I think, implemented. So apart from that, once you come to this point, you can see that you can also incorporate enhancements to your application. The enhancements include these kind of enhancements. So in here, actually, this means allow users. So it's like there should be some letter here. So allow users to choose different currency formats, allow users to choose the theme of the application. If they choose dark theme, they should be able to change the color based on the theme, and then they should also be able to choose an option to select the uh, they should also be able to have the option to split the bill among n number of users that they define, right? So they can the user must be able to define a certain number of customers, and the calculator should be able to give the split amount, the final value after splitting equally among the selected n number of people. After you have done that, you have to include some documentation, and you need to include all the codes that you have used to build the app. Also, in the README file, you can explain the logic and the key functionalities of the application. In the README file, you can explain the logic and the key functionalities of the app. So also the instructions on how to build the app and run the app must be given in the README file. So in the README file, you have to give all the documentation. So you don't have to, submit a separate report on that. Apart from that, the source code must be uploaded to the GitHub. So the GitHub, you need to know how to upload a application properly to the GitHub. So we will discuss about that also in today's session. After you have uploaded successfully, you have to provide the URL of the GitHub repository by submitting it as a PDF through the LMS. So you need to put the link in a PDF and you have to submit to the LMS. The link must be accessible to the user, to anybody who's accessing the link. So if you are making the repository private repository, I won't be able to access it. So make sure it is accessible before submitting it, so that I can give the marks properly. So the grading criteria is mentioned here, and this assignment will contribute to 5% out of the total marks allocated for this module. So do you have any questions regarding this assignment? There are 2 weeks for you to complete, and this assignment must be individually done by its individual assignment. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, I think I will be proceeding. So currently I'm in this position, and I'm in the place where I'm going to define the item layout. So in here, in this application, we have view like this. So we want to get to this design. So for that, I will be using uh, something called the card view. So in here, I think I have not mentioned all the details in the Word document that I have provided you. So you maybe you can follow this that I'm showing in here. So I'm going to use something called the card view, which is available under the containers, right, under the palette. So, right, this card view is something that shows that can be used to show a certain, like some information on top of a card. So it is a very nice feature. uh, I mean, it looks nice when you add it to the interface. So basically you can define the features of the card view by by the attributes that are in here in this right side. Anyway, as the first thing, you need to define the ID of the card. So you can define a certain ID for that RV card. So if, it's better to define the ID for each of the views. So after you have defined that, you can go and define the other views that are included inside this card. So apart from that, since we have a problem with the constraints in here, so most of the time you get a red sign in here, it is missing constraints error. So constraints are missing, so you have to define the constraints for the card view. So the card view, you need to decide what is the constraint, what are the constraints of a card view. So that you need to decide. So the based on our requirement, we will be um, designing the width of the card equal to the parent width, right? Parent width. And the height of the card will be defined based on the text that are included in the item. So because of that, the width will be match parent, height will be wrapped content. So once you have defined like that, you will be able to see the card's boundary come up to this point, right? The boundary of the card will be this given by this blue line. The boundary will be like this. And you also, since I mean, since you haven't described uh, regarding the constraints, you also need to define the constraints properly to this card view, right? Although you have said match parent wrap content against the uh, kind of the distance from the margins, the distance to the boundary from the margin must be defined. That also can be defined. So basically, to I mean, get some uh, better idea about the view. So in here, what we actually, when we are defining the layout constraints, we need to decide how the constraints must be defined. So in here, this card view has a small margin from the top to the card top, I mean, the top of the card. So there's about small gap between the top of the screen, right? I mean, there's a purple line in here, right? At the end of the purple line, uh, after that point, up to the top of the card, there's some gap in here. So you need to define that as a certain gap. So that gap we can define in here as like 8. Let's say let's say it is 8. So in order to obtain this constraint widget, you can go to the component tree in here. You can select the RV card in here. So once you select that, you'll be able to select the constraint widget properly, and you can define the gap. So now I have defined the gap, right? However, like you can see that there's some problem with the width and the height, those things. So again, I would like to change this into match parent, right? And then, so I think like some things need to be done regarding that. So anyway, the constraints must be defined properly. The constraints uh, will will be such that there's no gap between the left and right corners to the card view, and the top boundary and the card view boundary will be distance by 8, and then there will be another distance of 8 to the bottom of the card view. So with that we have defined the card view. So in here actually it's a very small piece, so inside here we also have to define some 2 other objects. So it's kind of cluttered in there. So maybe for the moment we will put this layout height. Maybe we can change it to match parent, but we need to check whether we can actually keep it as it is. If we can keep it as it is, it will be easy for us. So if it is match parent, again I think it would be remaining the same, mainly because the dimensions will be same, mainly because we have defined the constraints like this. So if we increase this, I think we'll be able to get a, uh, a much higher, width for this. Anyway, so we have this view like this at the moment. So actually this 32 in here, this constraints actually define the the gap between the like bottom of the card to the end of the I mean end of the view. So anyway, we have this recycler view like this. Then after that we can draw in some another constraint layout into this component tree. So inside this card view we can see constraint layout available, and inside the constraint layout we have to drag some text views which we are going to place inside the card view. So inside the card we have text view, one text view, and also we want another text view. So anyway, before coming to the other view, I will try to get this view finalized. So I will put the ID of this text view as TV person name, mainly because I'm going to display the person name in this text view. Right? Apart from that, I also need to define the constraints of this text view. The text view constraints I need to define, and that I think I can define as zero distance between the top view or the parent view up to the top view of the text view, and then some gap in here I can define as maybe 35, and then I think the constraints are defined like that. So I can define the constraints of the text view, right? So now I have to add another text view, and that text view will also be added under the card view. And once I add that, it will be added directly in here. So I want to place the text view somewhere below the first text view. So in here I will be using another text view, and that one I will name as TV age. That ID I will name as TV age to denote the age of the person. So the margins of that text view I need to define so that that view will be placed right below the uh, earlier text view that we have defined. So in here, PVH dimensions I need to define. So that the dimensions I can define as 0. 0 means like 0 distance from the parent view to that view. And then I can define the distance between the margin to the point where it is displayed as 90, let's say. And I think that's all that is needed. Currently it is not in the below position, something wrong, so we need to place it in a location that is below the text view. So if it is difficult to be done in this section, we can do it in the code, right? In the code we can do the necessary coding to get the constraints properly defined. So in order for us to do that, we need to go to the code of the item layout file, and we have to define the constraints properly in each of the items. So in here, I think I have two text views in here. So I think I don't need, right? So something is right in here. I think I have given some kind of ID to the yeah, right. So in here, I just go here. So go to text view in here. In here, I have defined the ID as something. So the constraint, yeah, the constraint layouts ID I have given in here as some kind of a TV person name, but it should be just constraint view, right? It's not related to my like uh, my views. So I need to define the views ID properly. The views ID I will define. So once I define the views ID, they will be reflected in the code. In the code, I will be able to see the ID of the text using these lines. So as of now, this is how the constraints are defined for the text view. So the constraints are like this, which means that the layout of the text view is constrained like this. So start of the constraint is also equal to the start of the parent. So this is actually saying that the start position means like in horizontal manner, in the horizontal axis, the starting point of the item is equal to the starting point of the parent dimension or the parent starting point. So that is actually not related to what I'm trying to do in here. What I want to do is get the item, that is TVH, to the bottom of the item, which is person name. So in that one, I need to make sure that I define the uh, the constraints such that the uh, so in here I have to define something called, I think I will remove this or I will comment it. I think I need to use, we try to remove it. Bottom of PV person, right? So ID PV person. So in here, I have defined that the constraints must be that the top of the age constraint, top of the age view must be uh, constrained by the bottom of the person item, person view. As of now, you must have seen, see, I have been able to put the text view bottom at the bottom of the this first one. So I can change the position using this one if I want. I can change the position to 45 or something, and then I can make it more near to the first view. If I want, I can change it. So I will be able to change it to a certain value, and then I can see it like this. So as of now, that is how I have defined the layout of the item in the recycler view that we mentioned. So those two things are done. So third step will be defining the something called the adapter for the recycler view. Okay, so it's a new thing that comes with the recycler views. So when we are defining a recycler view, we need to have something called the recycler view adapter. The adapter is basically checking the views that are appearing on the screen and adding the data onto the new views that are appearing in the screen. When we are taking this one, for example, the recycler view is responsible for finding which views are there in the screen, and then based on the view that is like going to come next, the data will be uploaded to those views based on their position, right? So the recycler view is used to uh, adapt to the environment and adapt to the situation and add the data to the views uh, as suitably as possible by checking the position of the data and position of the item that is in the screen. So all those checking and uh, doing all the updates to the screen are done by the recycler view adapter. So recycler view adapter is a class that we define, and inside the class we define all the functions that it needs to do. So we will discuss about the recycler view adapter. So before RecyclerView adapter, we have to define the data that we put into the application. So the data that we put into the application, we must provide to the application, right? So if we have a application like this, we need to have the data that we are going to display in each of the card views. So suppose we give that as a data class. So inside the data class, we define the data. So we define the data and we define how, inside the data class, we define the types of data that are available in the application. And then we are going to define a function to generate the data. So generate the data required for showing in this app. So in this app, we are going to show the data and the data we need to generate. So we still don't have any data. We are not going to import it from somewhere. We are going to generate the data in the class itself. So in order to generate the data, you need to define a class called data class. So data class, you need to define first, right? So it's a type of class that is used to store uh, store data in the uh, in the uh, in the application, and it has the main information regarding the data that we are going to store and we are going to use in the application. So the data class must be defined to define the data types that are included, right? So data class. So we are going to define a class called person, and that actually the one that I have given in the document, Word document, might not be exactly this one, right? So just you can try to follow this also by, apart from that document. So mainly because this one that I'm developing here is basically focused on the application that I shown earlier. So in here, I'm going to define a class called person, right? A class called person, and that person is a class and it has certain, properties, name and age. The name will be given as string value and the age will be given as a int value or integer value, so that the type of the variable will be string for name and int for integer for age. As of now, we leave it like this in here, data class. So we define that the data that we are including in this application uh, are basically person type, right? The data class has objects that are a type of person, and each of the objects have the name and age. After that, we can call this anywhere in this code. We can call the variables name, age, those things we can easily call and we can define. So that is the reason that we define it as a class outside the main activity, so that we can access that variable anywhere in the code. So as of now, we are going to define the function to generate the data required, the necessary data for this application, right? So we need to have data to display on the screen, right? To generate that data, we are going to use a function. So that function we are going to define outside this main loop, outside outside the main loop, and then we are going to call that function inside this main loop. So the function that we are going to use is basically a function that we call as create contacts. So the create contacts function is used, and that function will contain a list, mutable list of people. So uh, the type of this list will be person. Person is something we have already defined under here. So the list will contain type items of type person, and that person will have attributes of name and age. So this list will have uh, objects of type of person. So after that, we have to define each person's attributes. So we have to uh, define each of the items as a variable, and then we have to define the uh, we have to define the we have to define a variable called contacts, and in that contacts we are going to uh, mention the person's name and age. We are going to save all those information inside the variable called contacts. So in here we are going to store the list of persons inside this variable called contacts. So inside the contacts you will have information about the person objects. So the information has to be included in the contacts. So for doing that, we are going to use this, and so you know that you can use this method to define a range of numbers between two numbers. So anyway, we can, I mean, inside for loop, I can define it like this: index I between 1 and 20. So in here, I'm only going to consider a list of 20, a list of 20. So in here, I have only gone up to a list of 20, up to person 20. So if I want to get the values, right, correctly stored, what I have to do here is that I have to define this contacts variable, and I have to give the age and name values for each of these contact, the values that I have given in the screen. So the values range from 1 to 20, right? So values range from 1 to 20, and the values will be added to this contacts variable, right? So the contacts variable is a additional variable that contains all the information related to the person, and the person so the contacts is uh, a object that has the properties that we have defined under person. So in here I'm going to add that the first attribute, which should be the name, the first attribute of the person is name, so that one should be person, and $1 or $I, which means that the string value should be uh, uh, the person name will be defined like this: person 1, 2, 3, likewise, and then age value will be defined by I. So in here you have seen, right? So the person 13 come from here, person 13, and the age value, age 13, likewise. So the contacts variable has all the information regarding all the data that is available in the list. And the contacts variable must be accessed if you want data, right? If you want to access data, we have to access this contacts variable. So inside this contacts variable, we have saved the information about each person's name as a string, and each person's age as an integer. So up to that point, I hope it is clear to you. So with that, what we have done is actually creating a variable called contacts. This variable we are going to include in here. We are going to use it in here. So there's some error. So I think I will try to see. Yeah. So I have to add person type, right? The person type to the contacts, and the person type will have these two attributes. So inside this this main onCreate function, I'm going to call the data, which I included in the contacts uh, right there. However, that data is not accessible up here because I haven't defined it anywhere inside this onCreate function. So in order for me to get that access, I have to define a variable called contacts, uh, which I define in here. So which will be a mutable list of persons. So list of persons. So the contacts variable has to be defined here, and this also I will define as a private late initialized variable. However, like in here, the variable will be stored as variable in here, right? So that value can vary from time to time inside this class, but initially the list will will have a certain set of data. So anyway, the contacts in here will get the values or get the data from the create contacts function. The create contacts function will generate the data and pass it on to the contacts variable. The contacts variable can be a variable mainly because whatever the data that we insert into this contact variable can vary from time to time. It might not come from create contacts function each time. So the contacts in here, therefore, is a variable and it can vary with the time. So at this point, the value of the contacts are coming from the create contacts function. So once you run this, you can create all the data and you can add it to the contacts variable, which is a list of persons. And then we can now we have actually defined the data for uh, our application. We have defined all the data that is required for the application, right? We have defined the data that is required for the application. Next, what we need to do is define an adapter that will connect the data with the screen, right? The adapter will connect the data with the dynamic screen or moving screen, right? So the adapter is something that we need to generate for our application uh, that will adapt the data that is shown in the screen. So since this is also getting read, we have to define it also as a variable, which is a type of adapter. So adapter type. So since we haven't defined the adapter for this application yet, we have to I will just mention the adapter that we are going to define. We are going to define this one, still it is not defined. So we are going to generate a new adapter called contact adapter. Right, so this contact adapter is the adapter that we define for this application. And then there are two inputs that we give to this adapter. One is the position where we are currently in the application. and that position is given by this command called this. This tells the application, okay, this is the line or this is the place where we are at the application. And then uh, apart from that, we have to give the data to the adapter. Those are the two things, two inputs that we have to give to the adapter. Since this is having a red error, we have to resolve it. So we have to, as I said, we have to create a new like adapter for this recycler view. For doing that, we have to create a class called create contact adapter. So we can extract that contact adapter to a new file. So that will be generated to us automatically, and it will be generated in a separate file. So the contact adapter file can be uh, accessed through this same location where the main activity Kotlin file is. The contact adapter will also be available there. Then contact adapter will have different functions that it needs to do in order to get the tasks done, right? So the contact adapter will consider the context or all the all the contents in the application into consideration. So because of that, we will define under this contact adapter one of the inputs as context, right? So I will define it as context. So this is a standard method that will be followed. So you don't need to consider this as a difficult or uh, uncomprehensive thing. So in here you can define the variable as context, and that value will be a type of context. So if you get some red errors like this, you can follow whatever the support given, and you can import the libraries related to that into this file. So the context type of input you give into this contact adapter, mainly because context is something that gives all the information that is stored regarding this application and regarding this specific screen that we are concerned about, right? So in main activity, we are developing the functions of a certain screen, right? That screen's functions and its related documents, data, all those things are stored in this file called context or context files. So you obtain that as input to this adapter, and you use that to define different functions required in the adapter. The adapter needs to know all the information regarding the project files. So that is obtained through the input context. Then you also, I will do this for the moment, recycler view adapter. So this is the output that we get from this contact adapter class. So I will try to type for the moment, and I will resolve the errors later. So contact adapter dot view holder. So these things are not defined properly inside this class still, right? So we will get them defined and we get them sorted out once once we import the necessary libraries, we'll be able to get them sorted out. In here it says this whatever the library needs to be imported, so I click Alt Enter and import the necessary class. And then view holder must be defined inside the class. So because of that, there's no suggestion that is given to me in here, right? So contacts adapter, it should be contacts adapter. So whatever the output from this contacts adapter file are type of recycler view adapter contacts adapter view holder. So this is the output that we get. So maybe so most of the time you won't be able to understand what this means for the moment. So it actually means that we are going to give like outputs of views that we can show in the screen. So the list of views that we can show in the screen, we can give using this class and this, right? So this is the output type. So it is a list of view holders. So we will actually have to get all these errors resolved. In the meantime, we also have to make sure that we import the necessary functions into this class. So if you want to import the necessary functions, this software suggests those functions, and these are the basic functions that we have to import. So that was suggested to me. So implement the members. By implementing the members, you can import those functions. So that will be like by default, they will be providing these functions. So these are the main functions that are done by the recycler view. So by the adapter in the recycler view. Apart from that, we also have another function that will embed the data, to the view holder. So that I will include in here. So this is also some additional thing. So it is defined using an additional class. So inner class view holder, and view holder will hold the data of each of the views. So the data of each of the views must be defined properly inside this class. So we are going to do that in here. So under this class. So in here only we are defining the view holder. Right? So item view. So I don't expect you to remember these commands, but this is the default way of doing this scrollable list. So inside this view holder, I will have to define the data that is designed for each view holder. So once I define it properly, I will be able to get most of the errors, I think, resolved. If some fault is there in any of the inputs that I have given, some error is definitely going to come. So I'm going to agree with the suggestions that they are giving, so that I will be able to resolve the error. So if it resolves the error, it would be fine. Otherwise, sometimes the error might not go. So as of now, I think some errors have gone. In here, some problem still exists. It's related to contact adapter. So contact. So in here is contacts, and this here is contacts. So they are both same. They should be both same. So by that, I think the error is resolved. So inside this adapter, we have these functions, and we have to define these functions into getting this RecyclerView adapter correctly done. So we will discuss about these 4 functions, I believe, in the next session. And since the time is over. So I hope it is okay with you, and if you have any questions, you can ask. And I believe that I will continue from this section onwards in the next class. So I hope you were able to follow this section. So with this, I would like to conclude today's session. If you have any questions, you can ask. If you don't have, you can also you can leave the class. So feel free to ask questions if you have up to this point. right? So from this point onwards, I will continue from the next session. Regarding the GitHub submission, I will explain in the next class that we are going to have in the, after we start the semester in the next Wednesday, I will explain to you how you can submit to the GitHub an app that you develop in here. So it will be useful for you when you're doing the assignment. Yeah, so that's all from my end for today. I believe I will continue this section in the next class. So thank you for attending today.